Welcome all to the Y session on the first fuel, energy efficiency. I believe the greenest energy is that one that you don't need to produce. So while many equate energy to just electricity, there are startups here which go beyond that. 50% of the primary fuel in the world is consumed for only two human needs, heating and cooling. Some of them are working on that. But I'll just kickstart this discussion with questions, sort of, or my observation over the years working in energy efficiency is it has not attracted the kind of investment that it should have. A month ago, I saw a newsletter from RevX Capital, and all I could see was 4.7 million for energy efficiency, whereas it was in hundreds of millions for renewable. So that led me to a thought that maybe investors don't see that kind of scale in energy efficiency. So as investors, when you are giving your remarks, if you could share as to what is that you would like to see when investing, making an investment decision. And also to all three startups, what is, if you can take their inputs and incorporate into your pitch, that'll be great. So without much further ado, let's kick this off. I guess each of us have just 5 minutes to speak. Let's stick to that. Let's honor that. Otherwise, I'll step in. Okay? Enforce that. Okay? All right. First off, Sushant, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, Madhu, for that background. So quick introduction, and I'll also give a bit different flavor from whatever has been discussed already, because I work with a debt fund and have been working for last 8 years in providing collateral-free debt for startups and SMEs. We come in basically whenever there is a growth requirement. We don't take the seed stage risk. Whenever the companies are scaling and they need either purchase order financing, receivable financing, or capex financing, and as all of us in this audience know, without that, practically most of the energy-related kind of expansion doesn't exist, because it's such a asset-heavy sector compared to the usual tech or software-focused startup, right? So, so there is a clear, why here for us? There's a clear need of the capital that we provide. So we provide up to 20 crore kind of customized capital via NCDs at RevX Capital. Now, I want to take one example, and which is slightly contrary to what Madhu thought, but when you think of it, there are very few energy efficiency focused consumer brands. That's what is, and it's a shame actually, because there is a clear use case. One of my favorite companies that we were able to sort of partner with early, and many of you, I'm not sure, might be consumers now, is Atomberg, which is popular for the ceiling fans and energy efficiency ceiling fans. It sort of made that cool. And we were there, I met them when they were at a 50 lakh monthly revenue. Now they're of course 100 crore plus monthly revenue rates. That's one of the companies that sort of cracked the market, and sort of we were able to observe closely how they cracked it, right, and why they were able to crack it. So one of the first thing was, I think that's the strength of energy efficiency also, the value proposition for the AAM customer, AAM Janta, is very clear. Compared to, let's say, in mobility, let's say you have to own an EV, there is a concept of total cost of ownership, which not everyone understands, right? And you have to sort of sit and educate the customer over years, prove your worth. In energy efficiency, it's simple, right? Here is a product which consumes less electricity. Here's a certificate. Would you buy it, right? That's the sort of simplest communication that they had. And they, of course, another key thing that they chose was, they had an idea to get a BLDC motor, brushless direct current motor, in a product that is a large market, but also doesn't require too much capital to go to market, right? They could have chosen, for example, an air conditioner, Now that requires too much capital for going to the market itself. That's where I think the go-to-market approach was first they identified ceiling fans, where capital required is less. And another key thing we observed was they identified B2B first. Because B2C would require tons of capital to build a brand, which they later did, of course, after 4 or 5 years. Initial 5 years, they were not a known brand in the consumer sector. They cracked the B2B industry segment first. They targeted ceramic industry in Gujarat, where there was large scale of fan utilization. They cracked the Tata project first, right? So this sort of became a go-to-market strategy for them, and then later when they reached operational sort of break and even, then they went to the consumer-focused investors and sort of one of the climate-focused investors also got interested, because then the value proposition became very, very clear, and the scale also became very, very clear for them. So, so go-to-market, sort of less capital efficient, and consumer, they didn't have to educate consumer too much. They said, we are making a product that will cut your electricity bills by 150 rupee per month, and it will cost you 1,000 rupee or 1,200 rupee extra. It was that simple sort of a solution. And that's what sort of has lacked, unfortunately, in Indian consumer market. That's where energy efficiency could also become cool and attract a lot of capital, right? And that's where, I mean, frankly, VCs see capital returns first, right? Climate returns may not be even secondary, it's tertiary, right? Once you prove that, and there is a clear use case, right? That sort of has not yet happened at scale here, right? But I would stop here due to the paucity of time.
I think Atomberg is the most child inspiration to all of us. That's a great example.
Hey, hi. So I'm Trisha. I work at Aavishkar Capital. Aavishkar is an impact-focused fund. We've been in the country investing since 2001. So largely we look at 3 sectors: financial inclusion, agri-tech, and the other important sector for us is climate. And speaking of, we just spoke about renewables, and so while energy transition is happening across the world, and a lot of capital, like the moderator rightly spoke about, a lot of capital has gone into energy transition, both on public and on the private space, but not as much as, I think globally only 4% of climate tech has gone to energy efficiency. Having said that, it's more of like a now situation. If infrastructure market has to reach their net zero goals, then probably starting with energy efficiency solutions is probably going to be the first step. And I'm speaking here from more of a B2B perspective. And there we see largely 2 plays that look very interesting to us. Number one is the entire grid management piece. If the shift is happening towards renewables, there's the whole decentralization of grid that's going to happen, where the consumer is also the producer, and the grid needs to then talk. The different producers need to talk to each other and talk to the grid. We see a largish play happening there and a huge opportunity. That's number one. And then the other is the smart building solutions. Industry and buildings both have changed tremendously over the last few years, what we now call as Industry 4.0. Buildings get taller, commercials and industrial units get more complex. So in that sense, a lot of innovation happening on energy management and thus energy efficiency in that space. That's another really interesting space, and I believe quite a few startups in India are working on it. And there are like a few key points and few challenges that each of them are trying to solve either together, coherently, or separately. But this is also a very interesting space for us. Yeah, would like to keep it brief, but yeah, that's largely the overview of what we look at when it comes to energy efficiency. Thank you.
Hello? Yeah. Thanks, Madhu, for the question and making it easier for us to how to answer it in a limited time. So for us, I represent a company called Thermelgy. So there are three words in that, thermal energy, other one is electrical and energy itself. So these three words are combined. So because it's not just electrical energy, we also have thermal energy which is being consumed. Why we are doing, what we are doing, if I try to answer, given energy efficiency, as Madhu rightly put, is the best way of, being green. You don't consume, so you don't care about where the energy is coming from. But why that is such a pain, and why it is important to solve, one angle to look at is, it directly impacts or directly depends on our habits. And as human, our habit is the biggest challenge, whatever, good or bad. If you want to change it, it's required some cool technologies, some smart way of doing, some sort of reminder. So that's what at Thermelgy we are trying to build. So we have one software piece which tries to handle this piece for B2B. As individual, we can kind of relate. If I want to save energy for my home, of course, first you should start looking into your energy bill. So that's the energy management piece. We don't do it typically because at individual level you don't mind. But as soon as you put air conditioning in your home, you start seeing a pinch. And as Madhu shared in the morning in one of his slides, that was quite a big number, 4,000% growth in cooling demand for India, projected in next few decades. That almost means, I was reading another article, every 15 seconds, somebody will be buying air conditioning in India. Now you can imagine what's going to happen to the cooling demand of this country, and our habit is going to play a big role in that, and that same translate to B2B. So we are trying to help our B2B customers, hotel, malls, hospitals, to become more adaptive, to use these technologies, IoT enabled, those are all secondary, but how do you manage your energy in a way where you start giving a value, make it look cool and don't make it look boring? So that's one part we are doing. Second part on energy efficiency which we are working on is, ultimately this is consumed by machines, be it air conditioning, the AHU which is sitting here, or a chiller or a pump. Now all these, I come from the background of working on improving these machines. And we used to get a big clap if I can improve efficiency of a chiller by 1%. Right? We are kind of plateauing what you can do with the machines. But as soon as you see this, and you come out in building and these machines are working together, they are nowhere close to what they were supposed to operate. So if there is using an IoT and software, if you can make these machines more collaborative and make them work in more cohesive manner, you can again save huge amount of energy. As high as 15%, so there is a projection by a BE that you can save 25 gigawatt just by making this machine run more efficiently, just close to where they were supposed to. So that's about your 5% of our current generation capacity. 400 gigawatt is what we are producing as a country. So that's a huge opportunity, and that's where Thermelgy we are trying to help in this field. Thank you.
Great, Jayesh. I saw that information also, but when I went to the raw data and recalculated that, it was actually 2 air conditioners every second that India will end up buying. Not 1 air conditioner in every 15 seconds. For every second. That was the size of the error that was there in that report, by the way. Anyway.
So look at the data, if you don't get right.
Yeah.
All of us have to contribute.
Ashwin, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ashwin from Promethean Energy. We work in decarbonization of industrial heat. So in factories, there are 2 types of energy. One is electricity, electrical kind of energy. The second is thermal energy, which is basically heat demand in factories in terms of steam or hot water or hot air and stuff. And typically 50% of the energy consumption in industry is heat. And while there is a big wave towards decarbonizing of So everyone wants to decarbonize. All big companies, they have targets towards decarbonization of their energy consumption in 5 years, 10 years, maximum 15 years. And while there is a good push towards decarbonization of electricity through setting up solar and wind and all those things, there has been very limited work done on industrial decarbonization of heat. And that's the kind of space that we work on. We have a set of products, including heat recovery systems, some heat pumps, some other solutions also, which we build together to help factories completely decarbonize their heating systems. Right now, we are working in a limited set of sectors like FMCG, textile, auto, pharma kind of things, and we will be gradually also moving to other sectors as well. We are profitable as of now, so hence there is no direct pressure to raise capital. However, it would have been nice if there were other people in my space who were active, who were raising more money, which would have given more motivation for working in the space. But unfortunately or fortunately, either because maybe all the companies in the space are profitable, hence they don't need capital, or maybe there is no investor interest in the space, maybe. That could be the reason why I have seen limited interest in the investor community, or maybe I have not spoken to enough of them. That could be possible. So this is where we are. Right now, all our customers are large MNCs, including the Unilevers, P&Gs, Tatas of the world. In case any of you know any CFOs of industries or plant heads of industries, do let me know so that I can at least reach out to, because customers are what we really value at this point of time in our journey of the company. Thank you.
Yeah, Ashwin. Go ahead, Dayal. And if we finish before, looks like we'll finish before the target, we'll squeeze in 10 minutes, so because we've been better than others, I'll squeeze in 10 minutes of a Q&A and hope that's okay. Because everybody's been so patient, right? And they also deserve to ask some questions.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for the 10 minutes. My name is Dayal Nathan. I am the founder of a company called Energy. Energy stands for energy, and LY for analytics. So we are an IoT company in energy analytics. We help businesses using our hardware and software platform to bring energy efficiency. And our USPs are affordable, very easy to use, and the lowest installation time. So why I'm talking about this USP is because, why did we start this company? Because I had a factory before this, and I had implemented energy monitoring solutions which could lead to more than 15-20% of my energy costs. So I thought there is an opportunity, found what are the solutions available in the market, which if I have this problem, the same problem could be there for other factories. We'll do the same thing. I found you have a lot of multifunction meters in the market. Either it is a standalone based in-premise system, and when I did the analysis, I found that more than 90% of them don't do energy monitoring. So the key point to learn here is energy monitoring leads to energy efficiency. As you all know, renewable energy reduces energy cost, but not reduces energy. So that is the key, and is a low-hanging fruit for any manufacturing industry. And the differentiator I wanted to do was the problem statement of two things. The existing energy management systems were too complex for any normal factory to understand. It's all Greek and Latin, made by electrical for electrical people. So it is not necessary that all factory owners will be electrical to understand. So first, simplify the platform to make it very simple for them to understand. And we did that. And the second part was, the main issue was, if you have to do energy implementation of energy monitoring, there is a downtime required to put energy meters in all the machines in the factory. Usually it takes anywhere between 2 days to 10 days also. Nobody is going to give you that sort of a downtime to start this thing. So we built a product where we could do the installation just by directly connecting the CTs to our box using a different technology in collaboration with National Institute of Electronics in Chennai and IIT Madras. And with this, we are able to do installations in less than 1 hour. So basically, we're trying to get into the retrofit market. Now, answering to Madhu's point, it all looks like a bed of roses, but it is not so easy. The scaling up in the MSME, we tried to do this for the MSME, but it is a very big challenge in scaling up in the MSME, even if the price is very low, because the cost of awareness is very high, and the sales life cycle is also very high. If you do it for factory 1, you require the same sales time for even to the next factory, the next door also. So scaling up was an issue. Although we have more than 300 plus clients now, thousands of devices in different factories, the scaling up is definitely a challenge. And all the investments will only go towards marketing or GTM or all in terms of building awareness. So that's when we, using this experience of building a hardware, getting data, putting onto the cloud, we had the complete package with us. So we understood what we could do. And once you start getting data, it is not a big challenge to also get data from other sensors also. So the reason why I'm saying this is if you go for a restaurant, you're looking at electrical data monitoring. But then they also would like to know what is the temperature vis-a-vis the energy consumption. So then we had this hardware, so we built a multi-sensor product which can take data from any sensor. It could be temperature, humidity, CO2, or proximity sensor, whatever sensor. So the second product we made. And the third product we made from a direct customer requirement from a tower company in the cellular industry. I cannot name the company. The company says that the money given for diesel procurement for the tower company as the bills paid vis-a-vis the actual audit done in a year was 500 crores, which means so much amount of money gets wasted on diesel pilferage or diesel stealing. This is a very big issue in India as well as in Africa. So now that we had the technology of both getting electrical data and sensor data, we made a sandwich product which will give the diesel consumption on real time from the diesel generators and also the electrical data from the generators, which will tell you how much time the generators ran. Because then nobody can keep bluffing the person telling that the generator ran for 24 hours and it took all the money, whereas it only ran for 3 hours time. So this kind of data helped customers to know what is the diesel consumption as well as how long the generators run. So these products are now being used by telecom companies. As a pivot, as I know, it's not an easy thing to get into the MSME. So our industries are mostly large manufacturing factories and restaurant chains like Adyar Anandabhavan and Haldirams. But as a pivot, now that we understood technologies of sensors and platform and ease of use, we are using all these technologies now attacking for smart city projects and utility companies. When I mean utility means all the electricity boards. We call them discoms. So we have done one good pilot for a company which is a utility company in East India. Using all these technologies, you know every house has got a pillar box in front of you. From one box you get power to 10 houses, 15 houses. So using this technology, they will be able to find the following. If there is a power theft happening, which means to say if 5 houses consume 50 units of power from the box and it's suddenly consuming 100, it means somebody is stealing. So they get the data online. Or if the pillar box gets hot, the cable gets hot, they get an alert to the immediate substation. Or if the box is burning or you have a fire inside, they get an alert so they can immediately send somebody. And the most important, all of us know in Chennai we had this Varda flood. So the immediate calamity would be that once flood starts coming, the pillar boxes get flooded with water. So we have a specific designed sensor for that. Whenever the water level rises, it sends an SOS to the utility company substation. So automatically they know which pillar boxes have to be attended faster in order for preventing not only the immediately restoration of the power, but also to help no one gets electrocuted by means of hazardous things. So this is what we do. So we have 250 plus clients. Most of our clients are in India, a few in Malaysia, Singapore, Middle East, and Africa. So that's about us.
Thanks, Dayal. And I think all of us need to really give it up for the panel who practice what they preach, really being efficient with time. We finished 5 minutes before. As we promised, there are going to be 5 minutes Q&A, right? Thank you. If there are questions. Okay. No questions? Okay. Okay. Any of you have questions for? No. So I'm really amazed. So just because I asked for it. Oh, there is a question. Is it? All right.
Yeah, so the devices which you mentioned which monitor power theft.
Sorry?
So the devices, IoT devices which monitor power theft which you mentioned. So do you sell them to basically the government distribution lines or is it at a private level?
This is a pilot done by one of the power companies, distribution companies. Okay. So they are implementing it in all their pillar boxes. So I gave you a very raw example, but the ideal thing is normally every house consumes something close to 5 kilowatt of rated power. That's what we are supposed to consume, 5 kilowatt. So if you are having 10 houses in a street, supposed to consume 50 kilowatts. So if there is more than 50 kilowatt, then there is a red flag to the substation that something is wrong in that particular place. So we actually implemented this also in one smart city as a pilot in Hubli, smart city Hubli in Karnataka.
Thank you.
Not exactly about the businesses. What has been tried and what could be done to both create better regulations and enforce them to almost force better energy efficiency across industries so that we accelerate the journey? Because clearly the technology is there. Somebody is not willing to use it or doesn't use it properly. What can we do?
Can I answer? Okay. Since I have some exposure to the SMEs, I'll answer this question. See, there is something, we have the Bureau of Energy Efficiency in Delhi, which promotes 1-star, 2-star, etc. They have beautiful programs called e-certs, which they award these kind of certifications for carbon credits for the large industries like aluminium, steel, cement, etc. So they could use the certifications whenever they have it like a credit with them. They can even exchange with somebody else. But this kind of incentive is not there for MSME. So I'll just give you one gyan. What I learned after 5 years after being in the industry. What is that? Discrete manufacturing factories only spend 4 to 5% of energy vis-a-vis their total expenditure. So it is not a great focus area for them. So even if he reduces 1 rupee in cost from his raw material procurement, that would offset all the savings what you would do in energy. So unless and until you are able to give some kind of a similar certifications that if you can have a e-cert for 100 points, 200 points, that will be the only incentive for industries to do it. Because just for data I'm saying to you, in Tamil Nadu we have something like 1.5 crore connections, but 7,000 industries consume 40% of the energy in Tamil Nadu. That's for the large industries. But if you see the number of MSMEs, Tamil Nadu ranks #1 in the country in terms of number of MSMEs, either one or next to Maharashtra, I'm not sure. So unless and until they have an incentive program that if you have energy efficiency, you have a certificate program, then we will give you this incentive. Nobody is going to get into energy efficiency, at least on the MSME level.
Yeah, I think he has already summed it up. Even though there are schemes for the large industries like Perform, Achieve and Trade, which is driven by government, which has been quite effective. But industrial energy efficiency, it's a growing space. Awareness is one area which I have seen is a limitation for people trying to adopt it. Secondly, the decision makers are not incentivized enough to go for energy efficiency initiatives. So people on the shop floor, okay, let me put it this way. So the person who's working on the shop floor in a factory, if he implements a energy efficiency program, or project which helps save, say, 20%, maybe he might get an appreciation. He is not going to get a salary hike of 50% or something like that. However, in case that project fails, he is going to lose his job. And given the technical competence of people who are working in industries today, I have seen that there is reluctance on the part of industry to really go towards newer and innovative technologies. I'm talking from a B2B point of view. This is one reason I've seen. Having said that, it is changing. It is being led by the large industries, the MNCs, who themselves are implementing it, and then they're pushing it down their supply chain. It is changing, and it's changing quite fast. Having said that, these are some of the reasons I have felt why there is some reluctance in adopting energy efficiency initiatives in manufacturing.
Good. We are on time, unless Jayesh, you have something to share. Good. And I think I agree with more and more industries committing to net zero. I think efficiency will become a key lever for them to move towards net zero. Thank you all. Thank you for being patient, and thanks for the panel.
I would like to request the speakers to be on stage for a group photograph. Just 1 minute, sir. Just one photograph.